Beloved in the Lord, good evening. We are living in a time unlike any other, when the earth is shaking and the nations are in turmoil, when fear stalks the streets and chaos knocks at the doors of both the mighty and the meek. But there is a place, a secret place, where fear cannot enter, where the shadow of the Almighty overshadows all threats, and where the promises of God are sealed and sure. That place is found in the sacred words of Psalm 91. It begins not with anxiety, but with certainty. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. This is not a poetic phrase. It is a spiritual mystery, a divine reality. The Most High El Elyon is not confined by governments, pandemics, or powers of darkness. To dwell in his secret place is to move beyond the natural and into the supernatural, where the invisible hand of God becomes your fortress, your shield, your refuge. The question is not whether the storm will come. The storm always comes. The question is, where will you be standing when it does? Will you be exposed in the open fields of fear or hidden in the cleft of the rock? Psalm 91 is not a superstition. It is not a charm. It is a covenant, a divine declaration from the throne of heaven to those who choose not just to read it, but to live it, to breathe it, to claim it daily as their reality. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust, not in the works of man, not in the strength of flesh, not in the illusion of safety created by systems destined to collapse. No, our trust is in the eternal one, the unshakable one, the one who said, Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. He is your fortress not made by human hands, but built by divine design. The psalmist goes on, Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. There is nothing hidden from him. No plot of darkness escapes his eyes. The snare is set in secret, but your God walks ahead of you. He disarms what was meant to destroy you. He cancels what was crafted to entangle you. And the pestilence, yes, even the silent, invisible threats of disease, destruction, or despair, He will deliver you from them. He shall cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall take refuge. The image is not of distance, but intimacy. This is not a God far removed. This is a God who gathers, a God who embraces. The one who dwells in unapproachable light stoops low to gather you under His wings, like a mother eagle covers her young. That is where safety lies, not in isolation, but in intimacy with the holy, and His promise does not end in poetic metaphor. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. This is not wishful thinking. This is a spiritual boundary line drawn by the hand of God. When the judgment comes, when the plague advances, when destruction rushes in like a flood, those who are hidden in Him will witness it, but it will not consume them, because the battle is not theirs, it is the Lord's. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked. That is not a celebration of destruction, but a confirmation of justice. Evil will not have the final word. Darkness will not sit on the throne. The reward of the wicked is a warning, but it is also an assurance that righteousness will be upheld and that God is not mocked. Because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. That is the condition. Not that we visit Him once a week, not that we call on Him only in trouble, but that we dwell in Him, that we make Him our constant, our abiding place, and when we do, no evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. This is divine insulation, a heavenly perimeter placed around your life, your house, your family. For He shall give His angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. Angels are not myth. They are not distant or decorative. They are real, they are active, they are warriors of flame sent on assignment to guard those who walk in covenant. Even when you don't see them, they are moving, disarming traps, rerouting accidents, silencing demonic whispers. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. The lion represents roaring fear, the serpent is silent deception, but under the authority of the word both are beneath your feet. Not because of your strength, but because of His name, that name, above every name, is your victory cry. When you speak His name, darkness must flee, and now the voice changes. No longer the psalmist speaking, but God himself declares, "Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high because he has known my name." This is personal. This is not a blanket promise for the careless. It is a sacred vow to those who love him, who know his name, who cling to him in the night hours. "He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him." Not only does he promise presence in trouble, but deliverance from it. Not only survival, but honor. God doesn't just bring you out. He brings you out changed, elevated, transformed. Dwelling in the secret place of the Most High brings supernatural protection. True safety is not found in worldly systems, but in constant, intimate communion with God, where his presence becomes a fortress against all threats. To dwell in the secret place of the Most High is to live in a realm that defies the chaos and uncertainty of this world. It is not merely a poetic concept or a spiritual metaphor. It is a reality that is accessible to every believer who chooses to abide continually in God's presence. The secret place is not about location. It is about relationship. It is where the noise of the world fades, where the distractions of the flesh are silenced, and where the voice of God becomes clear and constant. It is the inner sanctuary, the spiritual refuge, the place of divine intimacy where the heart communes with the Creator. To dwell there is to shift from the visible to the invisible, from the temporary to the eternal, and from fear to faith. This dwelling is not a visit, it is a habitation. Many people visit God occasionally in times of crisis or desperation. They call upon him when danger strikes or when uncertainty looms. But those who dwell in the secret place don't wait for trouble to seek God. They have built their lives around his presence. They rise with him. They walk with him. They sleep with his name on their lips. They have made him their abiding place, their permanent address. Just as a person lives in their home, they live in the shelter of the Almighty. That is the secret place, hidden from the eyes of the world, but open to the heart that longs for him. The promise that follows this dwelling is staggering, "shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." The shadow of God is not a distant figure or a dim light. It is the very covering of the Most High. To abide under his shadow is to be so close to him that his presence shields you, covers you, and guards you from every arrow, every storm, and every attack. When the world panics, the one who dwells in the secret place remains calm. When destruction approaches, the one under his shadow stands firm. There is no safer place in the universe than under the covering of El Shaddai, the all-sufficient God. In a time when fear is rampant and uncertainty rules the headlines, this promise is not just comforting. It is essential. The threats may change from generation to generation, but the source of true safety remains the same. Whether it be pestilence that walks in darkness, terror by night, or destruction at noonday, the one who dwells in the secret place is promised protection. That protection is not abstract. It is not merely emotional or symbolic. It is the very hand of God moving to shield, defend, and preserve the life of his servant. But the secret place is also a place of spiritual clarity. When you dwell there, you begin to see the world through different eyes. You are no longer ruled by headlines, public opinion, or fear mongering. You are ruled by the still, small voice that speaks in the silence. You begin to understand the times and seasons. You discern the battles that are not seen with the eyes of flesh. You see the traps of the enemy before they're even set. You recognize the schemes of darkness and walk above them because your perspective is heavenly, not earthly. This way of living cannot be manufactured. It cannot be substituted with ritual or routine. It is cultivated through surrender, hunger, and devotion. It is the result of choosing day after day to seek his face, to linger in prayer, to meditate on his word, and to prioritize his presence above all else. It means laying aside lesser pursuits for the sake of knowing him more. It means turning down the volume of the world so that you can hear the whisper of heaven. It means resisting the distractions of this age and choosing the narrow path that leads to life. There is something sacred about the secret place. It is where battles are won before they're ever fought. It is where peace is planted in the soil of the heart. It is where strength is exchanged for weakness, and where fear dissolves in the light of his glory. Those who find this place are not exempt from trouble, but they are not consumed by it. They walk through the fire but are not burned. They walk through the valley but fear no evil, because they know who walks with them. Because they know where they dwell, the world may offer temporary refuge insurance policies, security systems, emergency plans, but these things cannot protect the soul. They cannot shield the mind from torment. They cannot guard the heart from fear. Only the presence of God can do that. Only the shadow of the Almighty can wrap around a person so completely that no weapon formed against them can prosper. That is the power of dwelling in the secret place. It is not a theory, it is a lifeline. It is not a one-time experience. It is a lifestyle of abiding, trusting, and hiding in the one who holds all things together. Psalm 91 is a divine covenant, not a mere poem or superstition. This passage contains real spiritual power and promises for those who actively live in alignment with God's will and trust Him wholeheartedly. Psalm 91 is not a charm to be hung on the wall, nor a poem to be admired from a distance. It is a covenant, a living and active declaration straight from the heart of God to His people. Too many have treated this psalm like a lucky token, quoting its words without living its truth, hoping for its promises without meeting its conditions. But this passage is not superstition. It is not mysticism or empty recitation. It is a holy contract, an agreement between heaven and the soul that abides under God's authority. When embraced as a living covenant, Psalm 91 becomes a shield against terror, a wall against destruction, and a spiritual fortress that cannot be penetrated by the arrows of the enemy. The covenant begins with the choice to dwell. This is not a passive experience. It is an act of the will, a decision to live continually in the presence of God, not just visit when life gets difficult. The covenant demands intimacy. It requires alignment with His ways, submission to His lordship, and a heart fully yielded to His will. The promises that follow are not scattered randomly for anyone to grab. They are given specifically to those who have made God their refuge and their habitation. This is the condition that unlocks the covenant, a life rooted in dependence on the Almighty. And what does this covenant include? It is protection of the highest order. It is deliverance from the snare of the fowler, those hidden traps set by the enemy to derail and destroy you. The fowler doesn't operate openly. He operates in shadows with deception and stealth. But God promises to deliver you even before the trap is sprung. That is the nature of His covenant. Preemptive rescue, divine foresight. You may not even know the danger coming your way, but heaven already sees it, and your steps are ordered around it. The covenant speaks of deliverance from the perilous pestilence, those invisible threats that move silently through the air and strike fear into the hearts of men. In times of plague, disease, or spiritual attack, this promise becomes a refuge. The child of God, walking under the shadow of the Almighty, is not given to panic but to peace. They do not rely on the wisdom of the world alone, but on the sheltering wings of the one who conquered death itself. This is not recklessness. It is holy confidence grounded in the eternal character of God. His faithfulness is called a shield and buckler. That means His covenant is not just defensive, it's all-encompassing. It wraps around you like armor, it shields your front and guards your back. When His word is your foundation, when His promises are written on the tablets of your heart, you walk differently. You live in a realm where fear cannot take root, where anxiety cannot rule, and where the darkness must bow to the light. The covenant continues with supernatural assurance. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. This is not about arrogance or spiritual pride. It is about position, where you stand and under whose authority you live. When you are in covenant with the Almighty, your protection is not dependent on circumstances. It is not contingent upon the odds. Even if collapse surrounds you, you are preserved because you are aligned with heaven's order. You are not subject to statistics, because your covenant places you in the hands of the one who holds eternity. Only with your eyes will you see the reward of the wicked. That line is not a declaration of vengeance, but a witness of justice. The covenant affirms that evil will not win. Darkness will not go unchallenged. The wicked may rise for a moment, but they will not stand in the day of judgment. and those who dwell in the secret place will see the hand of God bring down every lofty thing that sets itself against his name. But for this covenant to be active, it must be embraced. It must be taken seriously. It is not automatic for all, but specific for those who walk with him. The promises of Psalm 91 are activated by faith, sustained by obedience, and confirmed in the life of the one who seeks the face of God continually. To live under this covenant is to reject the world's narrative and receive the truth of heaven. It is to walk by a different light, to breathe a different air, to stand on a foundation that cannot be shaken. Psalm 91 is more than words. It is a spiritual stronghold, a binding agreement from the throne room of the Almighty for those who make him their dwelling place. God offers deliverance from both visible and invisible dangers, whether it's deadly disease, spiritual traps, or demonic attacks. God is vigilant and surrounds his people with angelic protection and divine intervention. There are dangers in this world that are both seen and unseen, threats that come in visible forms and those that operate in shadows. Psalm 91 addresses both. It reveals that God's protection is not limited to what the human eye can perceive. It extends into realms far beyond natural comprehension. The promise of deliverance from both the snare of the fowler and the perilous pestilence speaks to the comprehensive nature of divine protection. The snare is hidden, strategic, and meant to catch its victim unaware. The pestilence, on the other hand, is a silent destroyer, often spreading without notice or warning. In both cases, the danger is stealthy, and that is precisely why the protection of God is so vital. The enemy of our souls is not reckless. He is calculated. Like a fowler who studies the behavior of birds to catch them effectively, the devil studies patterns, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities to trap the people of God. But for those who dwell in the secret place of the Most High, these snares are exposed. God does not simply rescue after the damage has been done. He intervenes before the trap is sprung. His Spirit reveals the warning signs, redirects paths, and disarms the schemes of darkness before they manifest. Many times, the believer will walk right past a danger they never knew existed because God was already working behind the scenes. There are moments when you are delayed in traffic, miss an appointment, or experience an unexplained change of plans. To the natural mind, these are small inconveniences, but to the spiritual eye, they may be divine interventions. What if that delay was God steering you away from a trap? What if that closed door was not rejection, but protection? This is the kind of deliverance the psalm speaks of, not only from obvious threats, but from the calculated snares designed by the enemy to derail your calling, compromise your character, or shipwreck your faith. Then there is the perilous pestilence. This represents more than physical disease. It is any form of destructive force that spreads silently and invisibly. It can be fear that creeps into the heart, lies that spread through society, or spiritual corruption that seeps into the soul. In today's world, pestilence can be seen in the form of deadly viruses, yes, but also in the form of fear. Driven ideologies, moral decay, and deception that moves swiftly through media, culture, and institutions. But the Word says that the one who abides in God will be delivered from it. This promise is not passive. It is not a license to act carelessly or ignore wisdom. Rather, it is an invitation to live with discernment, to trust God's direction, and to stand firm in His promises when fear comes knocking. When others are paralyzed by anxiety, the child of God can rest in assurance. This is not denial. It is faith rooted in a reality higher than circumstance. It is the understanding that God's word is not theoretical but practical, not symbolic but literal. His protection is not a poetic image, it is a living force. Under his wings there is refuge. This image brings both tenderness and power. The same God who rules the heavens extends his wings to shelter his people. Like a mother eagle covers her young, God covers those who trust him. This is not distant protection. It is intimate. He is near, and his nearness is safety. The feathers of his wings are not just soft. They are strong. They are a barrier no enemy can penetrate, no pestilence can cross. Those who walk in this promise do not live with the fear of what might be. They live with the assurance of who God is. They are not ignorant of the dangers in the world. They are aware but unshaken. They understand that the enemy prowls, but they also understand that the Lord is their shepherd, and no enemy can snatch them from his hand. Every day they walk into a battlefield, but they do not walk alone. Every step they take is surrounded by divine presence, and every threat they face is met by the covering of the Almighty. This is the kind of protection that transforms how you live. You begin to speak differently, walk differently, pray differently. Your confidence no longer comes from statistics or security systems, but from the knowledge that your life is hidden with Christ in God. The snare may be set, but it will not succeed. The pestilence may rise, but it will not prevail. Because the one who watches over you neither slumbers nor sleeps. Because the one who calls you by name has written you in the palm of his hand, and no weapon formed against you shall prosper. That is the power of divine protection over both the seen and unseen. Walking in covenant activates divine authority over fear and darkness when we set our love upon God and call upon his name. He not only delivers but empowers us to tread upon the enemy, fear, deception, and destruction. Walking in covenant with God is not a passive identity. It is an active posture that changes the very way a person moves through life. Psalm 91 makes this clear. Those who truly set their love upon the Lord and dwell in his presence are not only recipients of divine protection, but participants in divine authority. They are not merely being kept safe from harm. They are empowered to rise above it, to confront the forces of darkness, and to overcome every spiritual attack that comes their way. The promise that the believer shall tread upon the lion and the cobra is not a poetic exaggeration. It is a declaration of authority granted to those who walk in covenant with the Most High. The lion roars and the serpent slithers. One attacks with fear, the other with deception. The lion is bold, loud, and intimidating, symbolizing the kind of fear that seeks to paralyze and crush a person's faith. It roars in the face of sickness, financial instability, relational betrayal, and public crisis. It tells you that you are going to be destroyed, that there is no hope, no future, and no way out. But the word says that the one who abides in the Lord will tread on that lion, not just avoid it, not run from it. Tread on it, walk right over the top of it. That means fear does not dictate the steps of the righteous. Even when the threat is real, the believer walks in peace because they know who walks with them. Then there is the cobra, the silent danger, the hidden threat, the whisper of the enemy that seeks to poison the mind and corrupt the heart. The serpent doesn't roar, it deceives, it enters unnoticed. It speaks subtly, it sows lies wrapped in half-truths. It tempts the believer to doubt the word of God, just as it did in the garden. But those who live in covenant don't fall for it. They don't entertain the lies of the serpent. They trample them, they walk in truth. They test every voice against the word. They are not deceived by what sounds good. They are led by what is eternally true. This authority is not found in human strength or intellect. It flows from relationship, covenant relationship. When you walk closely with God, you carry his presence, and with that presence comes spiritual authority. Not authority to control others or boast in power, but authority to stand your ground, to resist the enemy, and to silence every voice that rises against the knowledge of Christ. The young lion and the dragon represent the growing and intensifying nature of attacks. But even as attacks intensify, so does the authority of those who remain in him. God equips his people not just to survive, but to overcome, to conquer, and to stand victorious. The victory promised in Psalm 91 is not detached from obedience. It is directly connected to intimacy. It says, "Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him." It is the act of setting love, not just saying it, but proving it in daily life, in decisions, in priorities. This love is what anchors the covenant. It's not about perfect performance, it's about unwavering devotion. When you set your love upon God, you choose him above fear, above compromise, above convenience. You walk in righteousness not to earn his favor, but because you already have it, and you want nothing more than to stay close to his heart. In this position, every attack loses its power. Every spiritual ambush is met with heavenly reinforcement. Angels are assigned, truth becomes your shield, the enemy may try, but he cannot win. You are not walking as a victim, but as a victor. You are not begging for protection. You are living in it. You are not retreating from darkness. You are advancing with light. This is what it means to walk in covenant. This is what it means to tread on the lion and the cobra, not in fear, but in faith, not in hiding, but in holy confidence. Because you know the one who goes before you, the one who stands behind you, and the one who has placed everything under his feet, and has given you the authority to walk in that same victory. God's promises include not just survival, but satisfaction, honor, and revelation for those who remain in him. He promises not only to deliver them, but to show them his salvation, granting them peace, long life, and deeper knowledge of his nature. God does not simply promise to deliver his people from danger and then leave them to continue in their own strength. Psalm 91 concludes not with mere survival, but with a profound revelation of the heart of God toward those who love him. It reveals that his ultimate intention is not only to protect, but to satisfy, to honor, and to show his salvation. These are not shallow blessings. They are deep manifestations of God's covenant love, given to those who walk closely with him, who call upon him in truth, and who dwell in the shelter of his presence. This promise takes the believer from crisis to communion, from fear to fulfillment, and from momentary relief to eternal satisfaction. The phrase, "with long life I will satisfy him," speaks not just of physical longevity, but of a fulfilled life, a life marked by purpose, peace, and the presence of God. Satisfaction in this context is more than having years added to your life. It is having life added to your years. It is waking up each day knowing that your steps are ordered, that your breath has meaning, that your struggles are not wasted, and that your story is under divine authorship. This kind of satisfaction cannot be purchased or manufactured. It flows from living in daily alignment with the one who holds time in his hands. It means living in such closeness with God that even in the midst of trials, your soul is anchored, your heart is full, and your eyes are fixed on eternity. God doesn't stop at satisfying with long life. He says, "I will show him my salvation." This is the final crescendo of the promises in Psalm 91. To see the salvation of God is to witness his hand move in ways that defy human logic. It is to watch deliverance come when there seemed to be no way out. It is to experience peace in the middle of chaos, healing in the midst of sickness, and victory in the face of overwhelming odds. But it's more than just circumstantial rescue. It is a revelation. To see his salvation is to see him. It is to behold the Savior not just as a concept, but as a living reality. It is to encounter his character, to be overwhelmed by his mercy, and to recognize that everything you've walked through was leading you deeper into his presence. This kind of revelation transforms everything. When you see his salvation, fear begins to lose its grip. The worries that once plagued your mind are replaced with a deeper trust. The longing for worldly affirmation fades in the light of divine approval. You no longer live for applause, you live for intimacy. You are no longer driven by need, because you are already satisfied in him. The world cannot offer this, titles cannot give this, achievements cannot secure this. Only God can satisfy the soul, and only he can reveal his salvation in a way that leaves you forever changed. When God says, "I will honor him," he is speaking of lifting up the one who has humbled himself under his mighty hand. The world may ignore you, people may overlook you, but when you walk in covenant, God sees, he hears, he remembers, and in his perfect time he honors. This is not about worldly recognition. It is about divine elevation. It is about God exalting your life in a way that glorifies him. It may not come in the form of fame or fortune, but it will come in the form of fruit that remains, peace that passes understanding, favor that surrounds you like a shield, and joy that nothing can steal. This is the heart of Psalm 91, not merely that you would be kept from evil, but that you would be brought into the fullness of relationship with God, that you would not just survive the storms, but be shaped by them, that you would not just escape danger, but encounter his presence, that your days would not be wasted, but woven into a divine tapestry of purpose, transformation, and eternal impact. This is what it means to be satisfied by God. This is what it means to see his salvation. It is the fulfillment of the covenant, the reward of the faithful, and the promise to every heart that chooses to dwell in the secret place and trust in the shadow of the Almighty.